There's so many things about Lowell Smith. He was an extraordinary person.
He was what you call an intelligent dancer.
He was a phenomenal human being, a phenomenal artist, and his presence is still felt at Dance Theatre of Harlem.
Lowell was larger than life, and he lived his life as if it were a performance.
We always called him Dennis. I started calling him Dennis because I couldn't pronounce Lowell when I was a little girl.
There are certain people that are your brothers and sisters that you meet along the way. They're not blood. They're deeper than blood.
We're here for a very special reason, because one of my children, I call them my children, one of our great dancers is no longer with us.
He was such a powerful presence. He came on stage and you noticed him. I mean, you had to notice him. I think that he was a really major American dancer. He leaped high and landed softly. And I think he brought out this sensuality that was very masculine.
He was built like a truck driver. He had the same thing that Alvin Ailey had when I first met Alvin. There was the structure of the body, you know, strong. You know, they can lift a building up. And for a man like that who could fly in midair, you know, like a bird, swing and take off and do a classical ballet, I love that.
All the ballerinas like to dance with Lowell because they could do anything they want, fly through the air. They knew he would catch them. They knew he would throw them into positions, lift them up, put them down, and they didn't have to worry. All they had to worry about was being beautiful.
He was so strong. One of my favorite things to do was Four Temperaments. There are two amazing parts of the choreography where the ballerina is leaping across the stage, across time, because she doesn't have to come down with gravity. She's just kind of doing these long jetés and pushing the air away from her. And Lowell would let you do that because he was lifting and walking and pushing and running around the stage. And you just forget that. He would let you just fly without any worry about, oh, am I heavy? I'm not heavy, I'm light, I'm weightless. It was amazing, it was amazing.
One of the things we do at Dance Theatre, it's like the old movies. You take a star or you take an artist, you teach them how to walk, how to talk, how to dress, how to behave. And I remember this guy came in and I said, there's something there. He had a carriage, he had a way of talking and presenting himself, and I started working with him. And the main thing was to break down the perception of what it is to be a ballet dancer, because he did not fit that mold.
I think one has to think of him in the way he presented himself on stage. He was a very passionate dancer. I don't mean that he telegraphed passion every minute, but there was passion in the way he moved.
Lowell mastered both the classical and neoclassical canons. Balanchine choreography, neoclassical technique, clean lines, all simultaneously.
All at once.
Yeah.
When Lowell first came to Dance Theatre, we had never, encountered a character, a dancer, a person, an artist quite like Lowell.
Lowell was constantly morphing. The growth never stopped. The creativity never stopped. It was impossible. It was a force to be reckoned with. And if you were lucky enough to be around it, wow.
There was nobody who could be more serious, more technically correct, more physically beautiful, and sillier than Lowell. And it's part of what makes him so historically and artistically important.
We did Troy Game, which is done to Brazilian batucadas. And that's when I found that Lowell had a sense of humor. And this huge guy doing these sambas blew everyone's mind.
first time I saw Dennis perform professionally, I wasn't expecting to see what I saw, and I was at awe for a moment, and then I was like, that's my brother. He did it. When he was a little boy, he said he was going to do it, and there he is doing it on stage.
I think it was the same technique that he used as a performer, was the ability to sort of start with an idea and be very attentive to whoever the audience was, and be able to move that idea in a direction that would involve people. He was an incredible craftsman.
I look at ballets that he's danced, no one has replaced that. I mean, his Stanley in Streetcar Named Desire is still one of the benchmarks anyone would have to try. It sent chills up and down your spine.
There'll never be, anyone who ever attempts that ballet that can come close to what Lowell did with that particular role.
When he rushes through at the end, through a diagonal of shutters and a red windbreaker, it's an image it's an after image. You can't ever get it out of your mind. And it isn't because anybody can run through in a diagonal across the stage. It's the projection with which he did it. It's the emotion with which he did it. It's the presence with which he did it. And it's, believe it or not, the rhythm with which he did it, because it is, after all, a dance work.
His ability to look at a situation, to look at a role, to look at an individual and cut to the chase, to find that key.
When Lowell played the role of Hilarion, who in most productions of Giselle is the rival for Giselle's love, and he's usually seen as a villain, but Lowell made him more sympathetic. You could see how hurt he was by Giselle's rejection of him. I always wondered how he could go in this huge range from being very humane to very mean, but that's a tribute to him as an actor.
He would add touches and flourishes. Lowell knew and understood that it was theater.
When you go into a dramatic ballet, you have to smile and you have to frown, and actually, although you don't really act with your face, you act with your body. And this is where I think Lowell set the example in all of American ballet.
The other thing that I think is important is that we not forget to place Lowell within the broader sort of social, cultural, and political context.
Every time he came to a barrier, he crossed it gracefully, looking just like he did when he danced, as though it was nothing to leap that high into the air, across the racial barriers that he crossed, and the cultural barriers that he crossed.
To dance roles in the neoclassical and classical canon that no one else had ever danced before. And certainly Arthur Mitchell is the first, but
the flint.
Yeah.
But Lowell was a flint.
By being someone that refused to compromise their humanity in any way, someone that performed in 6 of 7 continents, someone that was eloquent and articulate and quintessentially dramatic and professional.
I've always said this in writing about Dance Theater of Harlem, which is that you saw dancers as dancers, and the color of the dancers is totally irrelevant, because that's not what you were looking at. You were seeing them as dancers.
Remember Dame Margot Fontaine said, the ballerina of ballerinas, said that not only were black bodies not capable, but they did it better.
And that was because of Lowell.
And that was largely because of Lowell.
I wanted to be close to him as he was when he was dancing, when he was performing. He gave you his essential self. I can remember still that moment in Fall River Legend when he would give me the flowers. And it was Lowell Smith giving Virginia Johnson the flowers. And my heart still bleeds for that, for the beauty of his spirit.
Lowell had that wonderful belief in the gifts that you're given and the sharing of those gifts. Most great artists don't like to share. What was wonderful about Lowell, he would share. He would work with the young people and give.
I remember I actually was working on the side with some friends, and we were working on a lift, and he said, you know, like, that looks pretty cool. Could you keep that? Just remember that. And so it progressed into rehearsing with him, and from there, I got to know him, found out how amazing he was just in general as a human being.
He wasn't, you know, he wasn't just like a teacher and choreographer. He was definitely a mentor.
He made you part of his life.
A lot of us would stay afterwards, and actually he was more than willing to put in the extra time to work with everybody individually and give them what they need to succeed and become a better dancer.
He always made me feel like I was a good dancer, but I could always do more. And I think that's a lot of what Lowell was about, was making you find the best inside yourself.
We were lucky, you know, we were in the right place at the right time, and we were lucky enough to know him.
I think if anyone were to look at my brother's life, they would see someone who found the beauty in the art in himself and in the world, and he shared that with other people.
He lived his life like a performance every day, you know. You know, the world was a stage to Lowell Smith, whether he was talking to a homeless person on the street or going into the theater.
I think Lowell was all about the raw carnage of human emotion, and he made you feel that when you dance with him.
I'm so grateful for the fact that we had the partnership that we had, because he got me through so much. He gave us so much. He gave me so much. He gave the dance world so much. He gave ballet so much. And I feel like I didn't thank him enough. I feel like I didn't tell him. I feel like he shouldn't be gone.
There are certain people that are your brothers and sisters that you meet along the way. They're deeper than blood. They're soul. And it was clear that he was my family. He was my brother. And I thank God that I've met him.
Even though he may not be here right now in this earth plane as we look at it, he is still here, because the legacy that he has left with myself, with dance theater, and the dance world today.
I miss him. Yes, I miss him, and I will continue to miss him.
Because he came down here and he performed magically for us, and he gave us a hell of a lot. His beauty, his life. I don't believe in death. We don't die. We go on tour. And Lowell is on tour.
You know, somebody who is that much energy, is that much power, he's every bit as much, if not more, present now than he ever was. He's around, he's here, he's everywhere.
I think I would break up if I felt that I had to say goodbye, but that's the beauty of the friendship that we had, because I know that I'll see him again.
Bravo, bravo, bravo. God bless you, always. Bravo.
Dennis, my brother, I just want to say bye-bye. And I'll see you later.
One day your story will be told. One of the lucky ones who's made his name. One day they'll make you glorious beneath.
God bless you, Lowell. I love you.
Lowell, thank you.
And it all comes round once in a lifetime, like it always does. Everybody loves you 'cause you've taken a chance out on a dance to the moon. Too soon. and they'll say, told you so. We were the ones who saw you first of all. We always knew that you